So I actually had a bit of a think. And what I want to do tonight, we're going to do an overview of chapter 3, because when I started going through it, actually it's chapter 4, which is the very famous chapter in Duties of the Heart, which is called the Sha'ar B'Tachon, the gate of trust and faith, which is mind-blowing and classic and legendary. And that's going to be, I think, easier for me to teach you from a very micro perspective. So actually, if it's okay with you tonight, we're just going to do an overview of chapter 3. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it'll be enough for you to then dive into your own learning if it's a book you feel connected to. But what we'll do is, please God, from next week, we'll be going through it from every word, we hope, from Sha'ar B'Tachon, the gate of trust, which is chapter 4, which is the classic chapter of this book. So for tonight, it's called Sha'ar HaShlishi. If you go to page 231 in this book, if anyone has got this book at home, Duties of the Heart. James, is there a Sefaria link to it? I'm sure there must be a Sefaria. So if you could link the Sefaria Converse to it. Also, James, if you're able to put it on Facebook and Instagram, the PayPal links, that would be awesome. What's up, Instagram? How are you, everybody? Nice to see you. What's up, Facebook? Nice to see you, everyone. So here we go. Everybody's got 231. It's called the gate of serving Hashem. Avodas Hashem. It's the gate about defining our relationship with Hashem. But even just in his title, he's given it away. And I'd like just to focus a few minutes on these two words, Avodas Elokim. And at the end, I'm going to ask you, are any of you an Avodas Elokim? Roberta, come back. I'd like to see your holy face. Don't go anywhere. Come back. So, yeah, don't even think of disappearing for me. So here we go. What does it mean, service of Hashem? How many of you are real servants of Hashem? So you think, sure, of course I am. Let me explain to you the difference between someone who's a servant of Hashem and someone who's not. When you're a servant, essentially, or the way my rabbi puts it in yeshiva, actually a slave of Hashem. Slaves are meant to have free will. It's not meant to only do it when it suits us. It's not meant to, hey, we're going to get involved with our spiritual experiences when it's really cool, when it's funky, when it suits me, when it's lots of fun, when there's a big social. Like so many people get involved when there's a social event. But if it's not a social event, it's doesn't really suit me. That's not being an Eved Hashem, if I'm being harsh. That's being an Eved to your ego. My dear friends, he's going to say something later on. Hopefully you'll get to it. There's nothing neutral in this life, says Rabbeinu B'chaim in Converse. You're either an Eved Hashem or you're an Eved to your ego or someone else's ego. You're either a slave to your lust or a slave to your soul. Nothing in between. And therefore, spirituality should not be simply, whoa, it's such fun, I'm loving it, like Ben and Jerry's ice cream. You know, for Shavuot, a lot of synagogues, they make huge amounts of events with Ben and Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs. The only way to get people to synagogue is giving them delicious ice cream and cheesecake. Unfortunately, that's not actually good preparation for Avodas Hashem. Good preparation for Avodas Hashem is doing something which isn't maybe so much fun. We're not so much sugar and sweet. Like Berda, for example. She gets huge marks, but in Turkey, it's so late there, and she's still finding the energy to learn. James, it's pretty late by you-ish, you know. I think we can give you some points for learning in Austria, in the UK time, but Verda definitely gets tremendous points because the more inconvenient it is, the better it is. And this is why I'd like you to start thinking. When you get a chance to do a mitzvah, your thought process shouldn't be, is it convenient? Is it pleasurable? Does it fit into my timetable? Ask yourself, does it fit into Hashem's timetable? Is this what Hashem wants? Is this the opportunity to be a servant of Hashem? So, for example, I've told some of this before. There's a famous story of a big Rebbe in Hallel, in Psalms 118. King David writes the famous line, Honor Hashem, please Hashem, Hoshiano, save us. Honor Hashem, please Hashem, Matzlichana. And the Rebbe says, you're saying the wrong honor Hashem. If you say honor Hashem with incredible kavanah, you'll get all your prayers asked, but it's not that one. A few verses before, there's another please Hashem, and it's honor Hashem ki ani avdecha. Hashem, let me be your servant. Hashem, let me serve you. That's the honor Hashem. That's the greatest request you could ever make. I would like you to, before you go to sleep tonight, make a note of this. Say, Hashem, please allow me, enable me to be a servant of yours. There can't be anything greater than that. Because if you do that, then you won't be a servant to your ego. But too often, we think of our relationship with a God almost like on equal terms. Like, you help me, I'll help you. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know, a bit like a marriage, where it's kind of giving and taking, and that shouldn't be the relationship with Hashem. The relationship with Hashem is very much top down, and Hashem's on the top, and we're very much on the down. But we need to get in that mindset. And I'll give you another example of what that means. There was a few years back, I got very sick, and I was in bed and I couldn't learn, and I was very upset I couldn't learn. I was really distraught I couldn't learn. And my rabbis told me the following. They said, imagine if it was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and you went to the bathroom, we call it in England, the toilet. You're in the toilet, and the door locks, and you get locked in on Yom Kippur, and there's no way out. You're now stuck in the loo on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of all, the day when we're meant to be praying all day, saying all the holy words. At that point, what does Hashem want you to do? If you're stuck in the toilet on Yom Kippur, explains my mashkiach. What happens? You are not meant to say one word of Torah. You're not meant to verbalize one Hebrew word or letter. That's what Hashem wants at that point. Meaning our spiritual service evolves depending on the situation we are, depending on what Hashem wants. It's not what you want. You know, when I went to this amazing opportunity to go to Hungary last week, we nearly saw you, James. Shame, next time. And we prayed for you there. And in Hungary, this great grave of Shaila, it was baking hot. I was leading a trip. It was hard for me to concentrate. And I was a little bit gutted at the end because I didn't really connect the way I like to connect to grapes. And then I thought, you absolutely wally, Rabbi Hill. What are you thinking? That's what Hashem wanted me to do. Hashem wanted me to be hot. He wanted me to lead the group. I did my job. It wasn't for me. It was for Hashem. So Hashem didn't let me feel like a wow connection. Okay. Sometimes you feel it. Sometimes you don't. But in other words, sometimes, how many times maybe you go to a class and you're like, that wasn't as good as last week. That wasn't so awesome. Maybe it doesn't have to be that awesome. It just has to be meaningful. It has to be a mitzvah. It has to be that which Hashem wants you to do. You with me, we don't have to enjoy everything. We're living in this self-entitled happiness generation where I've got to have like an amazing time the whole time. Who says the spirituality has got to be like you're surfing waves the whole time? Maybe. Sometimes it's got to be hard. Maybe sometimes it's going to be difficult. Maybe sometimes it's going to be inconvenient. Maybe sometimes it's going to be exhausting. And if that's what Hashem wants, then you got to do it, because that's what it means to have a relationship with Hashem. Our job is to serve Hashem, ladies and gentlemen. That's our job. That's our job. Our job is to be of service, to be an Eved Hashem. Oh, so Katie's asking a big question. Thank you, Katie. You are here. Come back on when you finish your supper. Come back on. We like to see your holy face. So Katie's asked a great question, which is, 1 minute. If we're here to serve Hashem, then what about free will? So I think I've told you this before, Katie. Rabbi Dessler says that the greatest act of free will is actually to lose your free will. The greatest utilization of free will is to use your free will to be a servant of Hashem. Alon, come on the screen if you can. We'd love to see your face, because that's our role. That's our job. Isn't to say, I want this and this is what I want, and therefore God's got to fit into my plans. Hashem doesn't have to fit into any of your plans. We've got to fit into Hashem's plans, whether we like it or not. You with me, Katie? So this is the point. The mystics explain our utilization of free will is to do what Hashem wants, not to do what we want. You know, I had a student just phoning me up from Israel just now, saying they got a great job offer, fantastic job offer, but it meant they're going to have to work on Shabbos. It meant they're going to have to work on Shabbos. And this is someone who doesn't work on Shabbos for the past few years. They've been keeping Shabbos. So for me, it was like a no-brainer. It was a test. They were just testing you. Hashem was testing you to see, are you still willing to be a servant? Or are you like a bit more wavering now? If you get a bit more money, then all of a sudden, maybe it's not that important to serve Hashem. Maybe it's more important to serve all my cost of living crisis and to make sure I can pay for what I need to pay for. Meaning, we're constantly tested where Hashem will ask you to do something which is out of your comfort zone, which is inconvenient, which is tough. And your ego is going to say, nah, it's too much for me. It's too extreme. I'm not on that level. But maybe you are on that level. Maybe that's the Joel. So what the great Rabbi is saying here, the Converse is saying here, first and foremost, our relationship with Hashem should be that to be of a servant to Hashem. You know, often we use this analogy of a bride and groom. So yes, we're a bride and groom vis-a-vis love. There's intense love. Hashem has tremendous unconditional love for us. And halavai, we have beautiful unconditional love for Hashem. But let's not think we're equals. You know, even though I suppose I'm not an equal with my wife either. She's way in charge, right? But proper. But with Hashem, it's not even like that. It's the top down. Hashem's up there and we're down there. We're there to subjugate. And therefore, also the other analogy we like to use, like a father and a child. We use that analogy when it comes to the love Hashem has for us. But at the end of the day, as a child, I don't have to subjugate my ego to my parents. I have to honor them. I don't have to subjugate my ego. But when it comes to Hashem, we've got to be an evet. We've got to be a servant of Hashem. We've got to be of service, which is the next point. Because nice to see you, my Romanian friend. We have someone from Romania in Neptune, in Instagram, WhatsApp. Cool to see you. Stay with us. It's going to get better. So even though hopefully it's been okay, it's going to get even better. So let's look in. Let's look in. So the book says the following. It says like this. First of all, and something we've spoken about before on page 231, he says the first step of our relationship with Hashem needs to be a step of gratitude. Gratitude. And I put on our, anybody wants to join our J Network WhatsApp group, let me know, because I put on it my favorite song lately, which is called Thank You Hashem. Thank you Hashem. It's just so important just to say every day, thank you Hashem. And he goes, la 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 la, and I thank you Hashem. Ding da 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 la la, and I thank you Hashem. And then I'm thinking of different things I say thank you for every day. So till now it's been really easy because we're very blessed that our daughter just got engaged to a wonderful young man. That was an easy thing to say thank you for. We've got to say thank you for every little thing. I can say thank you for my lovely tea. You know, sometimes, you know, it's an amazing story. I don't know if I told some of you, a few weeks ago, I was complaining that my kettle, do you remember it, James? I was saying my kettle was really worked slowly and it was just wasting so much of my time. And literally I woke up the next morning, there was a knock on the door, there was a kettle. I'm not even joking. One of our students was wanted to give me a nice present and didn't want me to waste time. And they sent me a kettle and it's a really cool kettle. So I can say thank you for a cup of tea, which is now not taking me 4 minutes to make. It can take me in 1 minute. So she's just saved me probably about 30 minutes every day because I have about 10 a day. So we have to learn to say gratitude. And then he writes like this. When someone does you a favor, even if it's a parent doing a favor for a child, there's still an obligation to respect the parents. So he says like this, the favors of a parent for his child, the master for his servant, favors by the wealthy for the poor, those that one does for another, favors done by the powerful for the weak. And he says the following, first, the favors of a parent for his child, clearly a parent intends to further his own interest through his child. So this is the question, everybody. Is there such thing as altruism? We've spoken about it before. What do you think, Roberto? Can we do a selfless deed in this world? Is it possible to be selfless? Or ultimately is everything selfish? I'll give you an example. Give you an example. When I do something nice for my wife, one could argue it can't be altruistic because the happier she is with me, the nicer she'll be to me. So whenever I do something nice for her, it benefits me tremendously. Can you think of anyone you really help where it's purely altruistic? That's the question, James. Is there such thing as genuine altruism? You know, you get if I bought a present for one of you, at the end of the day, you might get me a present back. You might help me back. Maybe you're going to come to more of my talks, which will bring a lot of joy to me. So is it really possible in our relationships with each other? The chesed shel emet, can you do chesed shel emet where you're not gaining anything? Our Rabbi said a very good case, because the Torah's case of chesed shel emet is a case where for the dead, when you do things, so for example, one of the highest mitzvot is if there's someone that's not buried. Do you know that? If you've got someone who's unburied, one of the biggest mitzvot, you've got to drop everything to go and bury the dead. Because we give dignity to the dead. That, God forbid, leave a body and a soul which is unburied. Only when the body is buried does it give nechama, does it give comfort to the soul. One of the worst things is to have a body which is unburied. That's why people need to know. And if you've got anyone in your life, that God forbid you lose someone you love, it's really important to try and bury them as soon as possible. As soon as possible. So Alon's saying, if you put yourself in unpleasant situations for the benefit of others, but I'm saying, Alon, who can you think of, who would a relationship be where if you do that, you're not going to gain? For example, Alon, you brought your wonderful, hopefully bride-to-be to our house on Shabbat. You brought the Naomi. If you do something where she asks you to do you a favor, which is really uncomfortable, it's 3 a.m. You know, I'll give you a funny example. 3 a.m. this week, we heard my daughter start crying hysterically. She's crying. My young daughter, she's crying hysterically. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, is everything okay? It's like a burglar, you know, got into the house or something. And what'd she say? There's a spider in my room. She doesn't like spiders. And she woke us all up because there's a spider. Now at that point, to be quite honest, I wanted to put a spider in her mouth, never mind a spider in her room, right? I wanted to take her to a spider jungle and let her get to deal with spiders. They're not that scary. Do me a favor. It wasn't something to wake up the whole house, but she's my daughter and we love her and she has a phobia of spiders. That's, you know, we all have phobias, so that's her phobia. So it's really uncomfortable. We had to go in her room and start trying to hunt a spider. We couldn't even find a stupid spider, right? The spider was like, you know, we're literally picking up the bed, looking, I'm not going to go back in the room ever again till the spider's gone. So you know, you're hunting. It was very uncomfortable, and it was very unpleasant, and we were tired, and we didn't want to do it. But that's what it means to be a daddy and mommy. You've got to kind of do things for those you love, even when you like it or not. But I would say that's still not altruistic because it's very important and it benefits our family tremendously. The more there's love in our family, the more that our children feel that they are heard, that they're cared for, that even their irrational fears are taken into account and that mommy and daddy care for them. So that's what I'm saying, Alon. It was super uncomfortable, but yet it's not altruistic because we benefit tremendously. We wake up in the morning and our daughter feels she's loved. And then we have a better relationship with our daughter. So we do benefit tremendously. So the book's trying to explain, is it even possible to do altruism? And on a deeper level, this is what's interesting, is it possible then to do altruism to Hashem? Is it possible, in other words, if you think about it, every beautiful act of goodness that you do, every mitzvah you do, you're going to gain. You're going to gain. It says in the beginning of Pirkei Avot, the book of being kind and ethical, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek l'olam haba. Everybody's going to have a portion in the world to come. The Torah we're learning tonight, I've got news for you. You're probably, you know, it's funny, we've asked you to pay, like, if you can, $5 on PayPal. You're going to receive about $5 million in your spiritual bank account for learning Torah. Apparently, that's the going rate at the moment. So they tell me for learning Torah for an hour, you get about, you know, $5 million in your spiritual bank account. So every mitzvah you do, you gain. Or put another way, when you get to the next world, which is all a place of holiness and oneness and Torah, you are going to be able to have a relationship with that in the next world. You're going to benefit. It says in Pirkei Avos, Hayoim la'asaysom u'machal lekabel scharam. Today we do. This is the place of work, and in the next world, we're going to get reward. In other words, by the way, if your life's a little bit tough, is your life tough at the moment? Is your life tough at the moment? Sometimes life is tough. Third, is your life tough? Sometimes life is tough. Guess what? This is where it's meant to be tough. Peace and serenity and relaxation and joy and unbridled happiness, that comes in the next world as a result of the mitzvahs you keep. Meaning, every time, the more you're a servant to Hashem, the more you're going to gain. So the question the book's asking, is it possible ever to do an act of altruism? Because ostensibly, it's impossible. Because in this world, you're going to gain from the relationships you reciprocate with and you help in. Even if it's with a stranger, you might have a feel-good factor afterwards. You might, I feel really good now. We call it the afterglow. You get this, this amazing feeling of goodness when you do an act. You know, whenever I give charity, I feel good about it. Can I tell you? And when you do an act to Hashem, you're going to get a bigger world to come. And the more inconvenient it is, the more you'll get a reward. So can you imagine? Like the worst Rabbi Hill is when I'm giving my class. If he gets like really boring and rubbish and you're still listening, you're going to get a higher reward. So don't go anywhere. Either way around. If it's good, you definitely have to stay. And if it's rubbish, all the more reason to stay. So you have to stay forever, right? So are you with me, everyone? So that's my question. Everyone understand the question? Can one do an act of altruism in this world? And if so, how can you ever be a servant? How can you ever be a servant? Surely, everything's selfish. So first of all, he explains the following. That when it comes to children and parents, even when it's natural for a parent to help a child, the good actually comes from Hashem. This is very deep now. So let's say, in fact, me and my wife, and actually I'm going to confess, it was more my wife than me at 3 a.m, because my wife was amazing. She was sprightly and she wanted to go and clear the room. I did more of the lifting up the heavy bed in the morning when Racheli decided to go back into the room. But the fact that my wife worked so hard actually says, that's Hashem giving her mother's love. You know, we learned on Wednesday night, a beautiful numerical value, Roberto. We learned how many journeys were there. Do you remember on Wednesday night? Write it down. How many journeys? 42. How many letters of Hashem's name is there? 42. The Shem Membes. What is the numerical value of mother? Aleph Mem Aleph, mother is 42. So a mother's love is really a divine gift. If you want to find Hashem in the world, find mother's love. When you see incredible unconditional love, it's coming from Hashem. Chavis was something amazing here. It's saying that when you are able to give or receive tremendous love, it's a gift from Hashem. And that's why, by the way, you should know something. Anybody's interested, I do coaching now. When I do a lot of coaching, often we're trying to help people enhance their potential, and some of the obstacles can be that parents sometimes can cause, at times, challenges for the child. Let's say a parent that's too critical, a parent that doesn't let the child have space, can really give hurdles for the child's progress. And therefore, if any of you have been in a situation where at times your parents have given you challenges, shall I say, the Baal Shem Tov says, actually, that's also because that's what Hashem wants too. That's what you needed for your tikkun, for your rectification. Nothing's random. No one has parents and it's just like a lucky or a random, sporadic, spontaneous, oh, you're together now. Everything is carefully thought through from the beginning of Adam and Eve. Your parents are exactly who they need to be. If it's your foster parents, they're who you need to be. If it's adopted parents, Nothing's random. Everything's from Hashem. And therefore, if you have parents that have at times been harsh with you or at times giving you difficulties, that's also from Hashem. And then if you're lucky enough to have had parents who've given you unconditional love, who've just given you the most amazing, amazing love, that's definitely from Hashem. And yet, even though it's from Hashem, we still have to honor our parents. We still have to honor, meaning just because someone does you a favor doesn't mean you have to honor them. Even though, in other words, again, that's the problem with the self-entitled generation. Sometimes a child thinks, I've asked you for it, so you have to give it to me. Don't you know how important? You know, you're having all cases in America now where children are suing their parents. Crazy stuff. Like, they're so self-entitled. But that's just messed up. When you get to their understanding that even though there's a mitzvah for not a mitzvah, but it's an inevitability, it's a natural consequence, it's what Hashem wants for a parent to love a child, the child still needs to say thank you. So first and foremost, when Hashem does you favors, you have to look at it as you're the luckiest person in the world. You're so blessed. You know, I found out one of my friends last week has got cancer and is going through a hard time. Hashem should give her a refuah shlema. Ruv Yona ben Chaya bracha. It's made me and my wife to stop again, and like, we're just lucky to be alive and healthy today. So sometimes we don't know how lucky we are. We complain about so much. You know, in England, it's amazing. They always complain about the weather, that it's never sunny. And last week, guess what? Hashem made it sunny and everyone's complaining. Oh, it's too hot. It's too hot. What's Hashem think he's doing? We are so self-entitled. And we need to get to a place of even when Hashem does something, you wake up in the morning, what are you meant to say? Modeh ani! Straight away, I'm awake, I can say thank you. Instead of saying, like, I should hope so. No, everything's a gift. Everything's a gift. That's step one. That's step one in what he said. Step two, let's go to page 249. 249, he says the following. Let me give you the answer already to the altruism question. Alon, are you there? Can I see you on the screen, Alon, to have the merit of seeing the holy Alon? Here we go. Here's the answer to the altruism question. Rabbi Dester and Converse talks about it. Listen up. My friends, there's a difference between a motivation and a byproduct. Let me explain. Alon's back. Listen, everybody. Here's the question. In Kabbalah, when you do a mitzvah, it's not just about the action. It's about the ratzon. It's about the why you're doing it. That is one of the most important spiritual facets of the action. It's like all of you now are sitting learning Torah, Baruch Hashem. Whoa! Amazing. Now, amazing. Baruch Hashem, we're sitting learning Torah. But the question is, why? And all of you have got a different reason. One of you might be doing it because you've seen there's a really pretty girl on Zoom, and you're like, you know, you're trying to like see if there's a way of maybe catching her eye, maybe going out with her. And honestly, a lot of people, they go to classes for that reason. When I do classes around the world, and pre-COVID especially, I would say 70% the reason why people came to classes was maybe to catch the eye of the other gender, honestly. So that's, and okay, Baruch Hashem, fine, whatever. It's better than going out clubbing. So lama lo, fine. But at the end of the day, it's not the highest level of reasons why to learn Torah. And maybe some of you are doing it because there's nothing on Netflix right now. So like, this is entertainment. It could be. Or maybe you're doing it because it makes you feel good. Makes you feel good. Let me ask you a question. If you're doing it because it makes you feel good, is that a pure mitzvah? Here's the clue. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot which says you should serve Hashem not to receive the reward, as opposed to those who serve Hashem to receive the reward. You shouldn't go and say, I want to feel good. I want a big world to come. So, hey, for my benefit, let's go and learn Torah. If that's like your preamble to why you, or let's say to go to shul, you say, you know what, I could do with some more livelihood. I need a bit more money. Show me the money. And apparently, if you pray, it's really good for money. So I'm going to go to shul because that'll be a cool way to make money. That, once again, is a low level of prayer. Do you agree? Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, why are you learning tonight? Go on, James. Give me a chat. What's the reason you've joined us to learn Torah tonight? Put it on the message. Alon, what's the reason you've joined? Roberto, what's the reason? Berta, I want to see your messages now. Now, but honestly, don't give me like holy stuff just for the sake of it. Give me honesty. What's the honest reason? I'll be interested to see. Okay, James. Good speaker, but okay, fine. So entertainment. To connected, Ash to learn about God, or holy. See, the baby says the holiest thing. Hadassah is this holy young child to learn about God. That's like Abraham was learning about God. So here's the point. They're all good reasons, obviously, and they're all exactly why you need to be here. But as we grow, we need to refine our reasoning. And Rabbi Dessler explains, and this is what Converse is alluding to, listen up. We need to get to a place where, do you know why you're doing it? To serve Hashem. Oh, what's Verda said? To serve God. We're doing it to serve Hashem. We're doing it because it's what Hashem wants. Hadassah, you're too cute, right? You're doing it to serve Hashem. You're doing it to serve Hashem. End of. Now, again, we're human, and it's very hard to reach that level of angelic behavior of whatever Hashem wants. But that's at least the goal that we should be looking to aspire to, my friends. That's what we need to try and move towards. You know, there's some people I teach that are blessed to go and convert to Judaism. And well, the most important question when they convert is, why are you converting? If you're converting because I want to get married to a Jewish boy or girl, not a good level. In fact, we shouldn't accept you for that. If you're converting because it's like you like the bagels and chicken soup, not a good reason. If you're converting because your dad's Jewish and you feel culturally connected, still not a good reason. The only reason can be to serve Hashem, keeping the 613 mitzvot. Ze'u, end of. And when that convert reaches that level of pledging my allegiance to Hashem, even though it's hard, they become the greatest role models for the Jewish people who were born Jewish, but don't realize that we're meant to go through that same level of declaration every day. We should go to shul in the morning. I'll be honest with you. You know, some of you know, I suffer from this illness called ME. So it's like long COVID. I'm very weak in the mornings, especially. I'm unable, unfortunately, to wake up thinking, yay, so excited, brave new day, woo, yippee, and start like dancing around the room. That's not how I wake up. I'm waking up like, oh my gosh, how am I going to move this morning? How am I going to get up? But I wake up and I know Hashem wants me to go daven, so I go daven. That's it. My body doesn't want to go daven at that point. My body wants to go straight back to sleep, or have 10 cups of tea, or a shower, or chill, or just get my energy going. But Hashem wants me to go. So this morning, not only did I try and go to shul, I had time to go to the mikveh before, so I'm literally like, I was probably like half asleep in the mikveh this morning, right? It's a pretty dangerous thing to do, right? But at the end of the day, my point is, we should be keeping mitzvot, not merely when it suits us. Our job, my dear friends, is to keep mitzvot because it suits Hashem. And thus, and this is the clear, critical point tonight, what is your motivation for your mitzvahs? And it's the motivation which is the critical factor. And thus, let's say you give charity. I said to you, when I give charity, and I really urge you to give tzedakah every time before you pray. It really enables you to be a vessel that can pray better, obviously apart from Shabbos. But during the week, I always give charity before you pray. It's a very important principle. And I feel good when I give charity. Says Rabbi Dessler, if the reason I gave charity was because to make me feel good, that would be shalom lishma. That would be an insincere motivation. That wouldn't be for the right reasons. That would be for ulterior motives. That wouldn't be to be an evet. But if I'm giving tzedakah because Hashem wants me to give charity, even though it's difficult, and I give it, and then afterwards I feel good, that's just an added bonus. That's what we call, and I'll show you the example. That's what we call, my friends, fringe benefits. That just like goes with the territory. That's tzitzis benefits, right? That's the fringe benefits. That's like, yalla. That's just the benefits. It goes along with the gig. You get some benefits. Some people get business class. We get feeling good afterwards. But if you're doing it to feel good, that, my friends, isn't the highest level. That's a lower level, meaning we need to focus the whole time. And therefore, says Robert Dessler, and this is counterintuitive, and many philosophers argue with this point, but I really don't care. This is the Torah. The Torah says, based on Robert Dessler, that we can achieve altruism today in the respect of our motivation, of why we do mitzvot. Kitty, you there? I'd like to see your holy face if you're there, Kitty. Come on. So if your motivation is pure, bang, magic, bingo. That's called lishma. That's called lishma. And then if you feel good afterwards, that's just a ramification. So now you can think the other way. You can say like this. Let's say let's say one of your friends message you, and your friend isn't feeling well. Yay, Kitty, nice to see you. Listen, let's say your friend messages you and says, "Can you come? I'm really not feeling well. Like, I could do with some chicken soup. Can you bring me some chicken soup?" And you're thinking like, okay. And you go and bring some chicken soup and you stay with your friend. And then afterwards you drive home and you feel so good about it. You're like, wow, that was a big mitzvah. That was the right thing to do. I brought her such happiness. It was so good. That's okay, as long as that's not why you did it. If why you did it is, for example, a lot of people do things because they feel guilt. There's this thing going of Jewish guilt, which, by the way, is not a Jewish concept. There's nowhere, it doesn't say in the Torah, thou shalt be guilty. There's no verse, I don't know if any. You should be guilty. We're not meant to do guilt, but yet many people do acts of goodness out of guilt. That's obviously a low level. We shouldn't do things out of guilt. We should do things out of service. We should do things out of service. Now, and therefore, and I had a friend of mine, and this should be an aliyah for this beautiful soul, Johnny Tippett, who passed away a few years back. If you're listening, Yitzhak Ben, Sarah, I think of you a lot. I always used to banter with him, and I used to teach him, why do we do it? And like I said, just 4 words, because Hashem says so. That's it. Why do we do it? Because Hashem says so. We don't need to start looking at the logic and because it's rational and because blah, blah, blah. Forget about it. The goal of being of service, it says when we came out of Egypt, why did Hashem bring you out of Egypt? Any idea, Roberto? Why did he bring the Jewish people out of Egypt? Because we needed some good chess players out there? Because we needed to find some Nobel Prize winners? By the way, do you know there's 30% of Nobel Prize winners are Jewish? That's beyond disproportionate. That's just miraculous. We're 0.4% of the world. There should be 0.4% of Nobel Prize winners should be Jewish, and I think it's about 33%. That's mental. But why did Hashem take us out of Egypt? To make smoked salmon bagels to the world? That's not the reason why. The reason he took us out of Egypt is to be of service. He needed a nation who will be his servants, come what may, 24/7. There is no king without a people, but we're a specific kind of people, Roberto. This is not a mean. We're a people who are subjugated to the king. That's the point. It's not just like, in England, for example, we're here as the English. There's the prime minister, there's the queen. But let's be honest, no one's pledging their allegiance to Boris and the queen, really. Or even Harry and Meghan, right? Let's be honest. People do what they want here. Hashem wanted a nation. And that's why we have so many mitzvot. We don't just have 7 Noahide laws, which is what the Gentile world have. We have 613. The point is that within every hour of every day, there's another mitzvah to do. It's relentless. It's endless. You know, for those who kept Shavuot properly, we had 72 hours non-stop. And the truth is, it should always be non-stop, because we've always got a mitzvah to love Hashem. We've always got a mitzvah to love each other. And we've always got a mitzvah to be kind. And we've always got to be mitzvah to learning Torah. There should really always be a mitzvah on the go. And this is what you have to start understanding. There's no such thing as neutrality. And if I would say, one of the most important things in this holy book is to teach you there is no act which is neutral. Either you're serving Hashem or you're serving your ego. Or put another way, either you're doing an act of goodness or you're doing an act, I'm sorry to say this, of evil. He calls it evil. I'll see if I can find the quote, just because James is looking surprised. So just to show you, I'm not making it up. But we can actually read the quote. Where was it? Here we go. Page 273. 273. We see that all humans' actions are divided into two, either good or evil. End of. An intelligent individual is one who weighs his actions before he does them, according to the standard, who first evaluates them with his mind and then chooses what is amongst them, giving up on the rest. King David says, I consider my ways and I turn my feet to your testimonies. I hasten, do not delay. That's what Hashem asked. He wants us to be living with this friction, to be living with this challenge. It's like my student just called me up. I've been offered this really cool job. It means I'm going to break Shabbos. What can I do? Hashem's testing you. And then he says, proof of the veracity of this division of deeds is found in a famous book, Kohelet, from King Solomon, which says, for Hashem will bring to judgment every deed according to its hidden intention, whether good or evil, which means King Solomon's saying an act is either good or evil. I'll get into a question in a minute. He classifies here all deeds are either good or evil. This coincides with what we've been called praiseworthy character or contemptible. You're either being praiseworthy or you're contemptible. It's thus been explained that all humans' actions are divided into two parts of the Torah, meaning there's the positive commandments and negative commandments. Now, if you're thinking, one minute, what about brushing your teeth? Is brushing your teeth, surely that's just like brushing your teeth. It's not either good or evil. I mean, obviously, if you brush it in a really bad way and harm your gums, your dentist might call it evil, perhaps, right? Or if you don't brush your teeth and then give your loved one a kiss, you might give them a shock and a lot of, bad breath, and they might not be happy. That could be evil. But generally, surely, really to brush your teeth, is that either good or evil? The answer is yeah, because it's a mitzvah to brush your teeth, because Hashem says we should look after our body. We've got to look after our health. We've got to look after our gums. Someone like myself specifically, if I don't look after my gums properly, it gets gingivitis very, very, I don't know why I'm telling you about my gingivitis. I'm sorry, too much information, too much sharing. I apologize. Pretend you never heard that part. Let's rewind that. But the point is, when I go and brush my teeth and taken my Corsadil and my mouthwash, I'm doing a mitzvah. Because the Torah says we need to look after our body. When you take a shower, you're doing a mitzvah. But now watch this. If you take too many showers, because you just like the luxury of showering. You just love to just be chilling in the shower because no one's telling you what to do. No one's nagging and it's purely luxurious. So you'd like to have 3 hours of showering a day. That's, sorry to say, an act of evil. Why is it an act of evil? Because we're here to be of service, not to be of service in the shower. You're not to be of service to your shower head and to your shower gel, or for the shower gel to be of service to you. Meaning there's something called balance. If you're doing it because you need to freshen up and it's very hot last week, there was a lot of sweat going around, and therefore the Torah is saying you've got to look after your body. So shower to maintain good hygiene, mitzvah. Shower just to waste the longer hours, because you just want to be hedonistic and just bathe in the bask of luxury. Sorry to say, evil. Why? Evil is not killing people merely. That's not the only acts of evil. Evil isn't, kidnapping a little child, even though of course that's evil, but that's not exclusively evil. We're learning something very scary tonight, sorry to say. Evil can be, according to the Converse, spending too long in the bath or the shower. How scary is that? Isn't that scary? Now, again, it depends where you're holding. Depends where you're holding. You know, someone, this is all brand new, I wouldn't worry about it too much, one step at a time. Let's start eating kosher and keeping Shabbos, right? Let's start having a relationship to God. Let's start being a nice person, being kind to one's parents, before you start deciding, am I spending too long in the bath or shower? As the game progresses, as one starts getting closer to Hashem, one needs to start thinking these things. So, for example, I think I was talking to Alon this week about how long should you spend in the gym? People who like to go in the gym. Ostensibly, to go to the gym is a mitzvah because you need to look after your body. So, Verda saying once a week or 1 hour a day. That's the question. So that's the question. How long should one be spending? And it's very interesting if you speak to certain, gym consultants and coaches who are kind of addicted to that. They'll say you need to do every day or every 2 days. I don't know the answer, because the reason why I'm probably a little bit overweight is because I don't go enough, and therefore I'm not the best one to ask. But maybe a doctor, or maybe I think 3 times a week sounds right. 3 times a week sounds right. 4 maybe, but the notion of going every day, and then the notion of going every day and just admiring themselves in the mirror and watching their muscles grow and grow to that of a chimpanzee, I'm sorry to say, according to the Chovos HaLevavos, that could be an act of evil, meaning you're no longer serving Hashem at that point. You want to look good on your dates, on your serial dating. So even though for me that isn't a good look, but let's say that's why you're going. You're going so people can turn their heads in the street and say, "Wow, you're so good looking." That's not going to be a reason to go. Do you understand? Meaning, every act, going to the park, you have to ask. If you go to the park because you need some fresh air, because you need to do exercise, mitzvah. And by the way, it depends for health. Also, it depends what you're going to do in the park. If you're going to go to the park and listen to Rabbi Hill on your earphones, huge mitzvah, huge good. If you're going and you're listening to Lashon Hara, evil. If you're going and you're doing something immoral, evil. And this is, I don't normally speak this way, and I don't speak this way, but we're learning this book. So I've got to be honest. I've got to be, we're learning something a bit radical tonight, which is every act is good or evil. It's scary. Isn't that a scary concept? It's mind-blowing. And it's a bit intense, but it's beautiful. I'll tell you why it's beautiful. Because Hashem loves you. That's why he took you out of Egypt. And Hashem wants you to serve him 24/7. Not some people are 3 day of the year Jews, right? 2 days Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They're Jewish, and the other days nothing to do with it. That's not why Hashem took us out of Egypt. And Hashem didn't even take us out of Egypt because of 3 days plus Shabbos every week. Hashem wants to have a relationship with us 24/7. That means if you sleep in too much in the morning, according to this, that will be an act of evil. And actually, the Mishnah Pirkei Avos says that. It says midday sleeping will take us to hell. Sorry to say. Scary stuff. Because the idea of just sleeping in, and indulging in sleep for the sake of sleep. Now, obviously, someone who's got an illness that they can't stop sleeping, we're not talking about that. But someone who's just loves sleep and wants to just indulge. Hashem didn't take us out of Egypt to go to sleep. Hashem took us out of Egypt to be of service. You need to sleep. And Maimonides says it should be somewhere between 6 and 8 hours. And if you're a high enlightened Kabbalist, you can go down to 2 hours. Most mere mortals is somewhere, I personally think you can probably get it down a little bit, 5.5 hours, etc. But ultimately, sleep can be a mitzvah. Saying that, if you sleep in the wrong way, for the wrong reasons, it can be the opposite of a mitzvah. It's not just, in other words, in food, we have meat and milk and parov, right? So we have something's either meaty or milky, or cauliflower we call it parov, neutral. You know what I mean? Potatoes are neutral. There's no such concept as an action which is neutral. This is this radical concept coming from the book. The action's either meat or milk, mitzvah or sin. good or evil. That's petrified. Now, again, if some of you like to relax and unwind watching a bit of Netflix, then it may be an act of goodness, especially if you're watching something somewhat kosher, because we need to unwind and we need to be able to do what you, for your mental health is as important as your physical health. But when it gets to a stage when you're binging on Netflix way too long, then it can go into the realms of, it's not what Hashem wants. Let's put it another way, instead of saying good and evil, which is a little bit scary. It's either what Hashem wants or it's not what Hashem wants. And our job is to do what Hashem wants. And Katie's amazing question, what about our free will? The answer is, yeah, our free will is to do what Hashem wants. Our free will is to take away what our personal will is and to do what is Hashem's will. That's the idea. So then finally, page 287, he explains that the highest level, therefore, is to really learn what's in the Torah and to get into this place that we're so connected to the Torah. That's very much defining and motivating us and ruling us to act in the way we're acting. In other words, that's the goal. The goal is you should know chapter and verse where things are coming from. When it comes to Shabbos, you shouldn't be like, I'm like doing a bit of this and you're kind of making it up as you go along. One of my students who once came, who started to convert, came to me and my wife, and they said, last week, it was like their first week trying to keep Shabbos, they sat on the couch and they didn't move. They were literally petrified to move. They're like, I don't know what I can do. I'm not sure. Can I walk? Can I move? Can I use the toilet? They literally were scared to use the toilet, flush the chain. Can we flush the chain? And it's, you need knowledge to be able to be a servant of Hashem, everybody. First principle, knowledge. That's why thank God you're learning tonight. And probably the most important thing I can ever say to you is get self-contained knowledge. Because to be a servant of Hashem, you need to know, what are these 613 mitzvahs? What does he want from us? What is the constitution? What is the contract that we signed in order to be released from Egypt? That's what it was. We signed a contract. I'm released from Egypt only conditionally if I keep the Torah. We need to know what's in the Torah. And if we know what's in the Torah, then we can start doing the right thing. And finally, he explains one of the ways to do that, to achieve it, is you have to learn how to actually converse with yourself. He's got this amazing part at the end of the chapter. And it's like giving yourself a talking to. Have you ever done that? It's so funny. We're always looking for someone to talk to. My friend, you've got the best person in the world to talk to. It's called yourself. You just need to find, I sometimes just like go around the block. Sometimes in the house, it's not there's a lot going on. So you just need to sometimes go for a walk and just have a conversation. And you talk, the way he puts it, your brain is talking to your soul and you're dialoguing between your brain and your soul. And you're asking yourself questions, what is the right thing to do right now? That's what you ask, what should I be doing right now? Is this right? Is this not right? Is this right? I've got this, whatever. Like if you've got a dilemma coming up, you should be able to, it shouldn't just be what is it what I want? It's what is it to be of service right now? What does Hashem want of me right now? And I'll tell you the most beautiful thing, my friends, when you get to that conclusion, it's what Hashem wants, you will feel so much better because the real you is that piece of Hashem within you. And then it's going to make and give you tremendous joy and happiness, and it will sync the higher part of you, which is the God in you, with the lower part of you, and you start feeling more whole and more complete and more joyous. So that is the overview of chapter 3.